Good morning and welcome to Morning Movie News, where first off, I want to give you a quick social media update because I'm trying to become more involved in the space. Yes, just as I finally mastered Twitter, now I'm moving over to Instagram, and it is a little addictive, I have to say, but I just kicked off my account yesterday, and I want to thank everyone who's followed me so far. You guys have made me feel so welcome and nice over there, so I'm having a lot of fun already, so it makes it a happy addiction. But anyway, for those of you who didn't hear yesterday, I did start an Instagram account. You can see right here, or actually I think, right here, that it's Grace Randolph BTT. And basically this is a little bit more of a personal account. I'm going to be talking about some pop culture stuff, but it's a little bit more of a look into like my actual life, because I've been getting some requests from people that they're like, I don't know enough about you. And I'm like, oh, okay, I'm glad you want to know. Instagram is a good way to kind of bridge that gap. For instance, if you go over there right now, you can not only see a cute dog that I saw on my way to work this morning, but you can see the comics that I've purchased today because it's comic book day. And I wonder if you can guess which one I read first. I've already read it, and I'll reveal it later today on Instagram. I'll put it in the comment section on that picture. But then anyway, speaking of Twitter, I'm going to be live tweeting the Golden Globes on Sunday night. So I did that last year for both the Golden Globes and the Oscars. I had a lot of fun with you guys. I have many more Twitter followers now, so thank you to everyone who's following me on Twitter. So we're going to have a really good discussion, I think, this Sunday, and then of course when the Oscars air later this year in about like a month or so. But anyway, this Sunday we'll be discussing the Golden Globes live via Twitter. And I tweet my thoughts on it, and then if you guys tweet something that I think is particularly funny or clever and insightful, I retweet it to everybody else. So a couple of people gave me some real gems last year. All right, so anyway, let's get on to today's morning movie news. And speaking of awards season, that's our first story. And yesterday, Star Wars The Force Awakens campaigned to be a Best Picture nominee, which, by the way, isn't really being waged by Disney. It's more being waged by the fans, which is very complimentary to what Disney and Lucasfilm have done. But it hit a major roadblock yesterday when the Producers Guild nominations for Best Picture came out. Now, I believe when it comes to the Oscars, everybody votes for Best Picture. And because of that, all these Guild nominations are very indicative of what you're going to see at the Oscars. So not only look for the PGA nominations, but also when the Directors Guild nominations come out, that's going to be very telling. But Star Wars The Force Awakens, and Carol, by the way, but Carol's going to clean up. Carol, I don't think, has a shot at Best Picture. Carol's going to clean up in the acting noms. Maybe cinematography as well. But anyway, Star Wars The Force Awakens did not get a nomination. And I think that's good. The only place that it's gotten any Best Picture consideration, besides a few fanboy top 10 lists here on the old YouTube, is the Critics' Choice Awards. Put it in at the last minute as the 11th Best Picture nominee. And they actually got into a bit of trouble about that. So perhaps, obviously, well, here's what happened with the Critics' Choice Awards. They're aired on A&E. So they were accused of adding Star Wars only for viewership purposes, which is not a bad argument considering no one watches the Critics' Choice Awards. But critics who actually vote for those nominees got very angry because they said, first of all, Star Wars missed the deadline, and there has to be if there are rules, they have to be followed. And they said the only other time we've made an exception is with Castaway. But they said with Castaway, that was a more deserving picture. But even regardless of whether or not you think Star Wars is deserving of the 11th nomination or not, this was just decided by the governing body of the Critics' Choice Awards rather than putting it out to a vote again and going back out to the voters and saying, okay, well, now that you've seen Star Wars, do you want to have a special vote on it? And they didn't do that, so people were very upset about that. So it's a little bit of a scandal over there on the Critics' Choice Awards. But nobody watches the Critics' Choice Awards, so people don't care about it that much. So I don't think Star Wars is going to get a nomination. I felt there was some chance because the Academy is also concerned about viewership, but I think the Academy has more of an image to maintain. I think it will get nominations. I wouldn't be surprised if there's like a special ode to Star Wars somewhere in the show where they just celebrate it. and because I think this show is very aware of the need for ratings, and I think Chris Rock can cleverly celebrate Star Wars: The Force Awakens while being also very honest about it. He is an incredibly honest comedian, which I think is great. So, and also no offense to Star Wars, it's a great movie and it's already won the box office. It's made all the money in the world. And Avatar was a very strong awards contender, I believe, because of its technological advancements. People, it was really able to ride that wave of people being like, well, I don't think it's that good, but it's technologically advanced. A little bit like Gravity. I feel Gravity and Avatar were very close. And also, thankfully, everyone's turned on Gravity now and has come over to my side. But I think a lot of people were like, yeah, even when the reviews came out, which is something that frustrates me about Rotten Tomatoes, a lot of critics said, yeah, this is a really crap story, but the visual effects are so amazing that it's a great movie. And then that fresh review, and I'm like, that's not a fresh review. But anyway, Rotten Tomato doesn't really handle nuances. But anyway, so Star Wars, because it doesn't have any technological advancements to, and because it's such a retread of Episode 4, what would you really be rewarding except the bringing back of a franchise? And there are no Oscars for that. All right, so anyway, also they won the Fandango poll yesterday for most anticipated movie in 2016. So Star Wars is doing great. All right, so what was nominated? Well, The Big Short, Adam McKay. A new level of his career is born. Bridge of Spies, that's a surprise. Brooklyn, Ex Machina, Mad Max Fury Road. I really, I have to say, I really feel Mad Max Fury Road might actually win this whole thing. I'm really pulling for it. I'm very excited. I think it's deserving of it. And it would also get us that sequel. So go Mad Max. The Martian, The Revenant, Sicario. That's great for Denis Villeneuve, who's going to be directing Blade Runner 2. Very talented director, although I much preferred Prisoners to this film. And Spotlight, I think Spotlight isn't strong enough to go all the way, but of course, you give it the nomination. And then Straight Outta Compton, which is great. I love that Straight Outta Compton is nominated for Best Picture. I think it's an important movie. I think it's a well-made movie, and it deserves that kind of recognition. I don't know if it deserves a win. I still think in this category I'd either go Mad Max or quite frankly, The Martian. I'm seeing The Big Short this weekend. Finally, I will review it, but I've been hearing very mixed things about that film, actually. So on this list, I would want to see either Mad Max or The Martian take it, and what a year for genre filmmaking, blockbuster filmmaking, and also sci-fi. I Instagrammed about this yesterday, but I love that Apple TV commercial. I'll put a link below in the video description. I've watched it several times. Whenever it comes on when I'm watching television on my DVR, I will stop fast-forwarding and watch it. I could really watch it on a loop. The only other montage of everything that's this good was the one that I had on my old Rear Window DVD, which I lost to mold. But anyway, it had this great montage in the beginning with the Universal logo celebrating Hitchcock movies, and it was just spectacular. And this is the only other montage I've ever seen that's that good. The reason I bring it up is it features The Martian. And I was like, look at that. It compares it to 2001: A Space Odyssey, and I was like, not bad. All right, so that's the first story of the day. Now, we're going to move on to the second story of the day, which isn't the biggest story, but the viewer question and the third story kind of go together a little bit, and you'll see how. All right, so the second story of the day is that China is becoming heavily invested, literally, in Hollywood. China, it's predicted, will become the biggest movie market in the world as early as maybe 2017. That is really an amazing feat, and it's going to really affect the kind of movies that you are watching. Because here's the thing, Hollywood wants the money. China is very cash rich right now, although their stock market's been having some problems lately. And also, by the way, a lot of China deals fall through, a lot of China money disappears, so keep all that in mind and take all of this with a grain of salt. But there's just so much money there that people are still, it's like, not everybody got gold when they went panning for gold, but there was a lot of gold there. So people were like, I'll risk it. So anyway, not only are there a lot of movie ticket dollars to be had there, but if you partner up with the Chinese company, it's more likely that China will allow your film to play in China because they're limited on what they will actually allow into the country. They don't take every movie. Although, considering the fact they take a lot of that movie's money and don't fairly report it, maybe they'll be like, sure, we'll take your movie. We'll take your money too. But anyway, that's another reason that a lot of big studios and companies are interested in partnering up with a Chinese company for financing and, of course, I'll put a link to the Hollywood Reporter article about this, but also for entry into the marketplace. Now, then one of the deals they mentioned that recently fell through was Jeff Robinov was supposed to get a considerable amount of financing from a Chinese company, but it did not work. However, Legendary, although Legendary is having a very rocky relationship with Universal, as we've been following, since the late summer, And so they might really need, if Warcraft fails, a lot of people feel that the legendary Universal deal will go kaput. So they're like, we need to make sure we have money. So they are circling a deal with the Chinese company that actually has a ownership stake in AMC theaters, which is very interesting. And people are saying that would not be a monopoly. It wouldn't be okay. It would be legal for them to be involved in both the theatrical distribution and exhibition business. I don't know how that works, quite frankly, but so far people are saying they think it'll go. So Legendary set to get some major financing there, and there are also some rumors that Paramount will be getting some Chinese financing. But you're going to see, like, Donnie Yen is in Star Wars Rogue One, a Star Wars story, and you're going to be seeing, I think, more and more Chinese talent in major roles in major movies, particularly if Rogue One cleans up in China with that casting. They have another Chinese actor in that film as well. 2, they're doubling down, so that is a very big deal. Also, Riz Ahmed, and it will be interesting to see if he brings in the Middle Eastern, Indian, European audience, because also that demographic is spreading out across Europe with what's happening with the refugee situation. So very interesting indeed. So I'm curious, what do you think? A lot of times whenever I talk about diversity in film, I talk about Black talent, Latino talent sometimes, but I get a lot of questions about Asian talent. Now, of course, behind the camera, it's doing extremely well. Justin Lin, James Wan, John Chu, although some would argue about Justin Lin and John Chu. But anyway, they're working, although maybe not John Chu after Gem and the Holograms. But anyway, in front of the camera, it's not going so well. But I wouldn't be surprised. And also, this is a huge opportunity. I don't even know if Wong is in Doctor Strange because they're already filming and we haven't heard anything about it. But that's a missed opportunity for Doctor Strange not to cast someone in that role. Maybe they don't want him to have a sidekick. Maybe they feel it's too Green Hornet. But I feel that that could have been big. But we'll see. I think that somebody is going to figure out that an Asian superhero might do pretty darn well overseas. So we'll see. We'll see who gets there first. I think they recently had a Chinese movie about an Asian superhero. I think he's like Pancake Man or something. I was looking at the top grossing movies of the year there. But I'm talking like a Hollywood superhero who's Asian. And I think that, there's money to be made there. All right. So anyway, let's go to the third story of the day. Sylvester Stallone just can't help himself. So he's going around doing interviews. He's on the awards campaign trail. So everybody's getting him to, Warner Brothers, who distributed Creed, is doing a very good job getting him in front of voters, putting him on their radar. That's a big thing. You really want, since narratives are such a big part of the Oscar race, they want to make sure that Stallone's narrative gets out there. And he has an incredibly strong narrative. Like, for instance, when Jeff Bridges won for Crazy Heart, he did a ton of talks, for Academy voters, and everyone just was like, you know what? I like Jeff Bridges. It's time for him to win an Oscar. And that's just what they decided because they personally liked him. So they're like, Stallone, get out there. Charm the votes out of people. But I think he's going a little off script because he's talking so much about Creed 2. Now, he's a producer on Creed, so I can see why he's like, let's keep it going. I'm Mr. Sequel. But he had actually something very smart to say about sequels, and then the rest of it kind of gets ridiculous. But he said, and once again, it's like, you're a good businessman in there somewhere, Stallone, but other parts of your personality keep getting in the way of it. But he said, we have to hurry about Creed 2 because there is a diminishing time acceptance for sequels these days because they come out like every year in these franchises. And I was like, very shrewd, Stallone, very smart way to assess the marketplace. But then I was like, does anybody really want a Creed 2? I don't even know if Michael B. Jordan wants to return to that role. I mean, it made a lot of money, but it didn't make like original Rocky money, and it's not getting the nominations. I didn't even mention it. PGA didn't even give it a nomination for Best Picture. And with 10, they're just throwing movies in there for recognition. So it's not quite a Rocky. I think it's a great film, really good film. I think it's going to help everybody's career that's involved with it. I think Stallone's probably going to get an Oscar. Ryan Coogler, it looks like, got Black Panther. We'll see what Michael B. Jordan's career isn't ruined after Fantastic Four. But, so I think that's kind of what everybody's going to get out of that. But he's really pushing for a Creed 2. And he's like, maybe they could have flashbacks. Like they were originally going to have potentially flashbacks in the first Creed with Carl Weathers, but now maybe they can do it for the second one. And then for some reason, Sylvester Stallone was like, maybe Creed can fight a Russian like I did in the second Rocky, and we can explore what Russia's like today. And I'm like, I don't really think that's a good idea. Why don't you see some of the other talents, like, where boxers are coming from realistically today and explore that and show how the big talent isn't coming out of Russia these days, but it's coming from other parts of the world. I think that would be much more interesting. But we'll see. We'll see. I think it just proves that one of the reasons that Creed works so well is that Ryan Coogler worked so hard to shape it. And this isn't a conversation with Ryan Coogler about Creed 2. It's a conversation with Stallone about Creed 2. And I think that a lot of his drawbacks as a creative talent are showing. So if I were the person handling his awards campaign at Warner Brothers, I'd be like, hey, stop talking about Creed 2, okay? Win your award first, and then you can talk about Creed 2 all you want. But one of the interesting things is that in the coverage of this story, someone said, well, Ryan Coogler probably going to be making Black Panther. Many of you pointed out yesterday that he is not confirmed for Black Panther. So I don't know why Kevin Feige's talking about him. Did he get in trouble with that with the Doctor Strange situation a whole bunch? But we'll see what happens. I think, it would be stupid if he didn't direct it. So they're like, maybe he'll produce it and we can hand it to another talent. And someone threw out Ava DuVernay's name. So and I think I've never seen such a call for someone to work and that person has not worked. Everybody wants her to work. She has a huge fan base in the media and in even moviegoers. She is a non-white woman director, and there's a huge call for her, and she's not answering it, and continues to infuriate me. So anyway, let's go to the video viewer question from BTT regular Caitlin. And Caitlin, you might recall, has been on a number of BTT videos where I ask you what you're looking forward to in an upcoming film, but she recently got a haircut, so that's where you know her from. So I'm glad to see you guys continuing to contribute to Beyond the Trailer on camera. I think that's great. So take it away, Caitlin.
Good morning, Grace. Hi. My question is, what are your thoughts on if you've heard J.J. Abrams' recommendation of Ava DuVernay directing a Star Wars film? And I know she did retweet one tweet that had the video of J.J. stating that. And since she passed on Black Panther, what would you think of her directing a Star Wars film?
So see, even J.J. Abrams wants Ava DuVernay to work. Even he's trying to draft her. And as Caitlin said, Ava DuVernay did, put that out there on social media, which is kind of like saying, I'm cool with this. But I guess she didn't want to specifically say she was cool with it in case it didn't work out. But you know what? Kathleen Kennedy has been, it's been reported officially that she said that women aren't approaching her to work on Star Wars. So I'd be like, hey, Ava DuVernay, pick up the frickin' phone, call up Kathleen Kennedy and say, give me a movie. And then if she doesn't say, well, I called Kathleen Kennedy and she wouldn't give me a movie, even though J.J. Abrams also suggested me, so what's up with that, Kathleen Kennedy? And then Ava DuVernay can use her social. How nice to have a conversation about behind the camera talent and have to specify who the she is. That's pretty cool. But anyway, and then Ava DuVernay can use her social media prowess for something good. She is using it for good, but I feel she's become more of a social justice warrior in Hollywood than a director. And that is not what I think would be the most helpful to the situation. So would she be a good Star Wars director? Yes, I think, I don't know. I'm souring a little bit on Ava DuVernay because she's not directing, and it's just absolutely ridiculous. But I think Selma is an incredibly well-made movie. It's not only a well-made movie in terms of camera work and those aspects, but I think the voice is very strong. And I also think she's very sensitive to the issue that she was depicting, but while still being fair. And I also think she didn't fall into a lot of the traps that female directors often do. The movie didn't get too emotional. It was able to portray violence and action. It was able to heighten the stakes. And I really was impressed with the work that she did there. Just the first 15 minutes of that movie are shocking and really, really just hook you immediately. If you haven't seen Selma, watch it, and then you'll understand why people get so upset and frustrated that Ava DuVernay is not working. And it's all her own fault. Ava DuVernay isn't working because of Ava DuVernay. And so it's annoying. But anyway, think about it. It's been a year, and she is not officially working on a project. There was some rumor that she was going to do some Hurricane Katrina romance, but that never has really gotten off the ground, and so that's just absolutely shocking. So yeah, put her on a Star Wars movie. I think it would be great. It doesn't have to be a female character. You don't have to direct a version of yourself in a movie, but if they want to make a Lando movie, stick Ava DuVernay on there, and that would just absolutely make so much. It would be huge. It would be as big a deal as Black Panther, although Black Panther isn't quite a big deal yet, but I think it's going to get there. So I'm curious, do you think Ava DuVernay should direct a Star Wars movie? What Star Wars movie would you like to see her direct? I feel she could direct any Star Wars movie, and I would just like to see her, quite frankly, direct something at this point. So I'm curious, What do you think, and how do you feel about Ava DuVernay in general? And do you understand now maybe a little bit better where I'm coming from now that I've explained my frustration? So, thank you so much for your question, Caitlin. Thank you, everybody. And you can write down below what you think of today's top 3 stories and that viewer question. And then, of course, anything you'd like to see covered tomorrow and any questions that you might have. Thanks for watching. Bye.